Hey everybody, welcome back to the next Awakening with. Today we actually have every day we have a very special guest. This is actually somebody that I met when I was in Shanghai, when I lived in China for the years that I did. His name is Redic, and he is a wonderful, wonderful soul. Let me read you his bio. Let me tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll get on to introducing him. So Redic is a multidisciplinary artist who embodies his craft as a lifestyle, not just as a hobby or peripheral passion. Originally from Chicago, Illinois, Redic attended the prestigious Morehouse College and has assembled his artistry in cities including Atlanta and Los Angeles. Redic has lived in China for 9 years and is an active contributor to the arts, the music, and the entertaining industry in Shanghai community. He's also very passionate for the rural development, and he has traveled to the countryside to share his art with rural schools and communities. Riddick would like to encourage empathy and compassion between people through arts. The artistry also encourages storytelling and the sharing of life experiences that are universal to all. Through his arts, Riddick believes that by upcycling items from the past, we can see the value in them again and the potential for transformation. In this way, people must spend time to upcycle themselves in order to be healthier for themselves, healthier for the other people, and therefore better to contribute to society. He's trained in self-derived gifts, including, but not limited to, performance art, vocal, poet, artist, model, TV host, producer, music composition, visual artist, designer. He is a multifaceted individual. I have nothing but love for this person. And let me and share a little bit of Riddick and his world with everybody. There he is. Hey, brother.
Hey there. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, man, it was great to introduce you. I read your bio and I read everything, but I remember that when we were in Shanghai, that we were just kind of introduced to each other, and I was just leaving Shanghai, but it was one of the most amazing experiences I had to meet, an individual like you, because I was doing consulting and I was doing a lot of the business world. But when I met you, it's like seeing color, seeing poetry, hearing songs, watching an individual kind of encompass artistry, watching from not just the way that you speak, not just the way that you create your art, but the way that you are your art, from the clothing that you wear, for the way that you walk, and also the fact that you are you're an artist in progress, meaning that you're not like, I'm finished and this is who I am. You're confident in your skills and your abilities and what you create, but yet you're constantly pushing and trying to new things. And also I love the fact that, you take things from the past and you bring them in, and then you find the spirit and the soul of them, and you share them. It's almost like you're able to see something that somebody might have not something that somebody forgot about, and then you can really see their soul. I still remember when we were in Shanghai, and there's some blue glass that
Uh,
I went on a mission. I wanted it, but then you did something extraordinarily amazing with it. And anyways, ever since then, it's just been nothing but love and respect for who you are, what you bring into this world, and the individual that you are. So that's just my side. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
well, first of all, the feeling is mutual. I think that in life we are all reflections of each other in some way. And, the same things that you've said about me as far as being just a positive light in the world, and someone that is, I laugh sometimes. You remember the cartoons when you would see them plotting like the sinister Um, sometimes I'm with my friends and we may be working on a project, and we will get that sinister laugh, like but it's a sinister laugh in that we are literally plotting good, plotting to do good. Like, oh, this is going to really do it. And so I just know that wherever you are in the world, you are actually good and really being deliberate in doing good, and doing good not only for yourself but for others. And so that was something, a synergy that I immediately connected with you. So it's good to be here and to share whatever it is that I'm able to share from my place of truth. And I'm still growing. You are correct. I say I want to die a work in progress, a proud work in progress. But I think one of the main things for me is that this whole element of life is about learning.
Mm.
It's about learning. And so there's always opportunities to grow and to be stretched. And so, yes, I would like to think that I'm an eternal work in progress.
I think that's beautiful. Tell me about you, like your journey. How did you get into it? Were you always interested in the arts? Was this a path that you knew from a child that you want to get into? How did you come to the Riddick today in Shanghai?
Well, I think, I'm very fortunate. I'm really grateful for my parents. They never dissuaded my creative bent.
Mm.
The only thing that my parents really encouraged and tried to require of us is that we would, further our education and just cultivate our sense of character or spirituality. But as far as, the creative talents and gifts and things like that, they've always been very supportive. And it was not until years later when I would connect with my other artist friends and realize that oftentimes their parents discourage them from
Hmm.
honoring the gifts that are inside of them. And so I think in that regard, I was very fortunate to have parents that fostered and supported me in not only my creative streams, but other streams, but definitely when it came to creativity, they were my biggest cheerleaders and supporters. And so that kind of gave me a foundation. But I think one of the biggest awakenings that I've had, and there are others, but one of the biggest awakenings was when I realized that we are gifted to give.
Hmm.
And so I say that everyone has a gift inside of them. But the very essence of a gift is that gifts are meant to be given away. And so, I mean, it's Christmas Eve. Woohoo! So a lot of people probably will be receiving some gifts. And the thing about a gift is whoever got the gift, especially if they were very mindful and thoughtful, they took the time to think about something that you would like or appreciate. Then if they went a step further, they wrapped it and everything like that. Now, the gift is in their possession. The gift is in their possession. You may not know that you're receiving something, but they know that they have something. And they've
Hmm.
put a lot of time and thought and resources into getting that gift. And so even though the gift is in their possession, it's still not theirs. And so when I began to understand that the gifts that we have inside of us are not mine, but it's mine to cultivate, to be responsible with, I really began to see that I'm gifted to give.
Hmm.
I'm, it's actually, and if I don't share, not in this egotistic or selfish, self-centered way, but really when I'm not giving creatively and with the other gifts that I have, it's really selfish of me.
Hmm.
It's really selfish of me. It's in my possession. I have the ability to do it, but every gift I think is meant to be given. So I like to say that we all are gifted to give in one way or another. And so that was one of the biggest awakenings for me, was that, Redic, it's really not about you being talented in different areas and being able to do all of these things, but it's what are you doing with the gifts that you have to actually serve. So I like to say that my gifts are a form of creative creative service and things like that. And that was a big awakening, but also make me think more about responsibility. I think a lot of times for myself, I would shy away from responsibility because responsibility in one sense makes you take stock of things and you can't kind of like gloss over it. And so there's a real sense of responsibility that I feel that I have with the gifts that I am blessed to operate in and share with.
I think that's beautiful, and I definitely resonate with the fact that our gifts are there to be given. And you know, one of my favorite quotes is like, one of the richest places in the world is the graveyard because that's where people die with their dreams.
Yes.
And I really do, I love how what you say, but you also make a lot of the things that you do very experiential, meaning that it's not just come look at my art. It's like, no, get lost with your mind, your body, your soul. Let me sing. Here's a smell. Here's a taste. Here's a touch. It's incorporating all this. And it's amazing that you are in a place where you're constantly growing it. But my question here would be, what challenges did you face yourself growing up as an artist with all your gifts? Because sometimes the gifts that we have, sometimes others might not be able to understand them. Or sometimes it's just not for others to understand.
I think there are different challenges, but one of the things that I really had to wrestle with and come to a conclusion is that I am not my gift. My gift is something that I do, it's something that I engage and I cultivate, but I am not my gift. Because oftentimes when I would begin to seek my validation through my performances but it was like, no, once I began to recognize that, Redic, you're loved whether you write another song, whether you paint, whether you are just loved, period. And you don't have to use your gift or your talents to prove your worth. And so that was a big turning point. And it also, for me, allows the gifts to flow more freely when there is not a expectation of validation that I'm doing this to be affirmed in any kind of way. Now, of course, I'm human and compliments. Thank you. But also to just put all of those things in perspective. So being able to understand that I don't need validation through my gifts and that I am just, as a human being, the fact that I exist is enough, is a big state of peace of mind for me. The second thing is really being able to cultivate in spite of what others think. And I really, it's rare that I cuss, and I don't think I will do it now, but every now and then I've learned to give the polite, just the polite, actually, I'm good. I didn't ask for your opinion regarding the decisions and choices that I'm making with my life. I think sometimes we can be so flippant to voice our opinions on how we think others should be comporting themselves and living their lives. And
100%.
so one of the things that I had to grow in confidence is that actually I'm good. I'm good with the paths that I've chosen, even if I have to change course, but I'm good. And really just allowing key individuals to speak into my life, because everyone has an opinion. And sometimes when you are honoring yourself, and it's a daily thing, and choosing to follow a path that you feel is best for you, that will sometimes put you against the grain of these perceived opinions and directions. But to be able to say politely, you know, I'm good, and really be good about that, and occasionally give the polite
Mm.
has been really liberating too. I didn't do it, but this.
I think,
You know me, Aaron. I'm very spontaneous sometimes, and this reminds me years ago when I was working on a very big creative team, and just having some struggles from people's perceived issues and things like that. I used to work with paintings, with palm trees, and you know the subconscious is a very powerful medium. And so in one of my palm tree paintings, I was working, and I had when I finished it was called So What? And when I finished, the way I had cut the palm tree and integrated the actual palm tree into my work, it looked like it was giving the middle finger. And that was my subconscious that was actually helping to affirm myself. And so a lot of my work is connected, it's linked together. And finding links is another awakening. And we'll talk about that maybe in a second. But speaking of the polite, whatever, the poem that I wrote, and it's become a bit of a mantra reminder for me, it says, so what? So what if things I want are seldom things I need? If I coexist with conflict and angst? So what if clarity stands aloof and peace of mind is faintly heard? If spirituality, sexuality, and morality battle for my attention? So what if your opinion of me is less than favorable? This is how I make sweet lemonade, how my multifaceted diamond was cut, how the perils of life transform me into a pearl of great price. So that is the awakening of being able to be good with the occasional so what.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that one before, and every time it's just, yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
What I find, so as an, as an artist, of just being you, it's, like when you're constantly creating new arts and new things out there and you showcase it, how does that make you feel when other people come into it? Is there a sense of vulnerability? Is there a sense of happiness? Because you're literally showing every time you create art. I remember having this conversation. You're showing parts of your soul to other people.
Yes. It's a mixed feeling. It is very, in one sense, as an artist, like we just wrapped up the first edition of a major exhibition that I had been planning and working with my team on for a number of years, and we implemented the first edition. And so the timing and the location, of course, as an artist, I felt a sense of pride. But beyond that, because I understand that the art, for me, art is not something that I do. It's a way of life. And I say every artist has their soapbox, whether they care to admit it or not. I think that at the core, we are all communicating something. And at my core, I really endeavor to inspire and to encourage others. That is the core. I believe my core mission is to really encourage and inspire others. How we view things determines how we do things. And depending on the impact of different mediums of art, if you're left with that inspired feeling, you can go into your same set of life variables, but because of something that has impacted you or inspired you, you will address those variables completely different. And therein lies the difference for outcome and for change. And so My work is, it's about life. So I, as an artist, I open myself up freely to create what I'm passionate about or what's impacting me or what I'm thinking on. But the core of my essence is really to inspire. So there is, I hope, always a thread of hope that is woven through the work. And
Mm-hmm.
so what is really encouraging, because the first edition was really bumpy when we actioned it. We're paving ground, the exhibition model. But I was working with my partner, and we would just look at each other and we was just like, wow, did you see that? Did you see that response? The feedback was so positive and so strong that it made it worth it. And again, gifts are meant to be given away. Gifts are intended. And so finally, I felt that within the context of what we just recently actioned, there was a platform for people to be exposed, and for whoever was it, the songs, the paintings were intended. If they
Mm-hmm.
got it, that's who it was for. And so it's a very rewarding experience to see someone receive a gift. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's Christmas Eve, so there are going to be a lot of happy smiles in just a few hours. But it's the same way when you put your art out there and it makes a point of connection and there is a receptivity to what you've been doing, knowing that the final intention is to action and inspire. Now, you mentioned a word that vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something that I try to be mindful of. For me, vulnerability is one of the greatest superpowers. It is one of the greatest superpowers. If you think about it, we are all trying to cover ourselves, which is fine, but to have a level of transparency and a level of vulnerability, it actually is a profound strength.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to, through art, to show, not that I'm trying to use a fancy word, but it's coming to mind, to show the vicissitudes of life through
Mm-hmm.
art, to show humanity through art and all of its glory and in all of its fragility, that's actually very powerful, especially when we are trying to escape our perceived notions of what it means to be vulnerable, what it means to be transparent, what it means to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can open your heart up through art and still be aware of what you're doing, um, I think it gives other people permission to um, to find a sense of liberation within themselves as well.
I think that's beautiful. So to get to where you are today and with your thoughts and your views, your perspective, were there any challenges or struggles that you had during your life that helped to define a lot of these perspectives that you have?
Um, Aaron, this whole series, and thank you for having me, is about awakenings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, we have some glorious awakenings, some moments of really like profound insights. But I think if you are open to life, there are really daily awakenings or daily things that you will kind of rediscover. Um, there have been certain mentors that I have come in contact with, a gentleman by the name of Gordon Parks.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this gentleman. He helped me to see that uh, there really are no limits. Um, there are no limits to how we can action our lives and how we can choose to flow in whatever abilities and gifts we have. He was a renowned poet. He was an activist. He was a renowned photographer. He was a filmmaker. He did the Shaft movies. He was a writer. And when I discovered the life of Gordon Parks
Hmm.
and how he lived his life for himself first, I think that is the greatest thing that I have to remind myself is, Redic, you have to really be able to find ways to love yourself, to appreciate yourself, and to live life to the best of your ability. And then I say love is an overflow. Love is an
Hmm.
overflow. And so it's important that I find ways to connect with myself. Some days are a little bit better than others. Um, but then life will give you those reminders like, dude, you know, you need to really kind of check in a little bit now. And once you're on that path, it it becomes more affirming. Like today, I'll be very honest with you. I'm here in Shanghai, and I have my Shanghai family, but it's the holiday season, and
Hmm.
sometimes and I'm just coming down from this major exhibition, and a lot of my energy was channeled there, and so naturally there's a come down, and then with the holidays and families, and I'm kind of lulling into some of my days, but I'm allowing myself the ability to love and to love. And so to actually to be able to come here and share some of my perspectives, share some of my truths, it's a release for me as well. It's actually lifting my spirits and a beautiful reminder of who I am and the potential that's inside of me as well. So thank you. I needed to run my mouth a bit.
It's beautiful, man. And I like what you said, the fact that, you give yourself permission to lull. Like you give yourself a permission to feel the feelings, to feel the emotions, to feel them all. But as you said before, that's not who you are. Just like your gifts are not you, your emotions are not you. You are so much more, especially because the fact that you're able to feel them, to channel them, and to create with them. And I think that's a very big lesson that we forget to, well, that not forget, but a lot of us, we learn at different parts in our lives. Because sometimes we believe that we are our emotions, we are our feelings, we are what's wrong, we are what's not right. But
Mm,
that isn't us.
no, it's not. And, you know, I think sometimes I don't like that I can fall into, I mean, the artist, you can fall into these stereotypes and things like that. But as the artist, in that kind of way, I can get the get out of jail card free and, oh, he's just an artist. And blah, 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 blah. No, but I'm actually trying to be more mindful of my emotions and the way I process things. One of my mentors in song, she came to me one, she said, you know, this is not happening to you, it's happening through you.
Mm-mm.
And so for me to be able to allow myself moments of lulling and to just process things and but not to hopefully internalize and latch on to them too much. It actually, as an artist, again, for me, wanting to deliberately inspire others through art, it allows me points of connection to humanity and to life that I'm somehow able to transmit into various mediums of art. And I think once people discover the layer of truth as it connects to others, that's very rewarding. One of the greatest compliments that I have received is that, you know, you say things or you express things or paint things the way I'm feeling, but not necessarily able to articulate. And so to
Mm.
be able to communicate that, that is only because I'm allowing myself the ability to live, you know, through the ups and the downs and still try to maintain a sense of balance in the middle of both.
I have a question that kind of came up. there's a lot of people that love the things that you do and the things that you create. And I've seen you in the state of flow of just create, create, create until the moon turns into the sun and the sun turns into the moon. And I come see you and you're like, this is what I've been doing. I haven't slept, but yet you're still full of life and full of energy. And it's amazing to see somebody truly harness just themselves and just kind of get into the state of flow. Back to what I was thinking, my question more was, how do you deal with criticism? How do you deal with somebody that says something negative towards you, towards your art?
It's so funny because we're all connected here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was there. It's so funny. Literally moments before you rang me here, I was on Instagram waiting for the call and going through my feed, and Michelle Obama, she was talking about dealing with negative energy and negative feedback. And she was saying how oftentimes we can get 1,000 or 100 attaboys, good job. And then you'll get the one, I didn't like that, or what was stupid. And that is the thing that we tend to dwell on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, Michelle, I still need some growing in there.
Yeah.
I still need some growing in that area. And I don't know if it's not necessarily a need for approval, but when you really action something in love,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still not received, it's just like, well, what? How did, and it's like, but when you have good friends, sometimes it's a reminder that Redic, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if someone likes you, doesn't like you, for in your mind, no apparent reason. It's okay. It is okay if people that you thought would support or did not do any of the above. It's okay. And learning to, yes, learning to be free of that and not to allow that to dwell on you, it really helps put things in perspective. So being rejection and criticism is part of the course, especially as you are endeavoring to be your best self. I say I have many selves. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I have many selves. I'm not crazy. I'm crazy in a good way. I have many selves. And what I do is try to be reconciled with all of my selves, to acknowledge all the different selves inside of me. But I really do endeavor to be my best self. And I think when you are endeavoring to be authentic and to really discover, I was singing a few weeks ago and I gave everybody the thumbs up. I was like, the thumbs up. And it wasn't, it was not just like a positive affirmation, but it was also saying, there's only one you with this thumbprint. You're the only one with this thumbprint. No one else has this thumbprint. And when you are really endeavoring to discover and honor your thumbprint, honor your blueprint, it automatically begins to set you apart. And not in this arrogant, ostentatious type of way, but it's like, no, the real you begins to manifest. And sometimes that sets people at disease. But it's not my place to shrink down because my presence has made. We were connected there. So
Yeah.
I think just being these reminders. And then at the end of the day, Aaron, I really go back to the fact that life is meant to be lived. It's meant to be enjoyed as much as possible. And so I really try to keep finding ways to be connected with myself and connected with the life experience, that I'm having now. And if that life experience should inspire and in touch and encourage others, then of course, I'm happy. I'm a do-gooder. I'm a do-gooder. I'm a do-gooder. But at the end of the day, I have to live my life for myself. And you asked me, what was the turning point? I think also just being able to take stock of my life with those that I love, parents and siblings and things like that, because everyone can have your best interest in heart, so they say, not in a negative way.
Yep, yep.
Everyone's, oh, you should be doing this, or you probably, but at the end of the day, it's your life and you're responsible for that. And so I really am endeavoring to keep taking responsibility for my life and for the time that I have here to live in this kind of segment that we call Earth here.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. A question that I have, I'm trying to think. I have three questions, but I'm looking at I'm trying to be mindful of your time and the time. So I'll ask two, and we'll just extend it a little more. One, I've seen you in this. My question here would be, is there any way that you can kind of describe your creative process? Because I've seen you in so many ways to be in flow and to create and to design and to write and to read and to paint and to I've seen you in these states of flow, and unless you've seen the artist in the state of flow, it's really hard. But what is going in you? What is going on you? What is going around you? How is it what is it, this state of flow, the state of creation that you get into? How are you able to articulate or explain it?
Yes, I think to some ability I am, and you hit the word flow. Flow. So first of all, once I began to acknowledge myself and do my best to honor myself, and then not question what has been invested inside of me, it's just like I realized that I don't have to pick or choose, but it's for me to use. Again, I really look at my creative gifts as a life of service, creative service. And so I say these are the tools that I've been given to hopefully impact humanity. And so once you stop questioning yourself so much, because questions are good, but when they become questions that are debilitating, or questions that we allow ourselves excuses not to do or to honor what's inside of us, those are the preventative questions. And so I began to look at nature. Everything inside of nature is intentional. Everything that is a part of nature was intentionally placed there. And so if we are a part of nature, then whatever's inside of us was intentionally placed there as well. And so it's not like, oh, here's this, here's writing, here's song and painting. Oh, but just focus on the painting. That's it. No. And it's just like, well, why would nature put that inside of me if it wasn't for me to use, if it wasn't for me to cultivate? And so once I began to see how my gifts, they don't compete against each other, they complement each other, I began to see the link. The second thing that you said, which is so important, is to be able to stay in a state of flow. I think sometimes when we are actioning our lives, and we're speaking, I'm speaking from the creative talents that I have, but I say everyone inside of them has something that is of a flow that comes naturally to them, and that we can cultivate, and it becomes even more pronounced. And so I began to look at creativity like water. Water can be hot, it can be snow, it could be rain, it can be dew, it can be ice, it can be all these myriads of property that it manifests itself into, but it's still water. And so for me, the challenge is not write today or sing today or paint today. It's just do your best to stay in flow. And as you stay in flow, the water will manifest itself as a poem. It'll manifest itself as a painting. That's just the way the flow came out of me. Sometimes when I am referencing my work, I will literally get the words incorrect for a moment. I'm like, oh, I was working on this song and I'm talking about a painting, because the flow feels the same. The manifestation is the same. And I think the challenge for us is to find our flow, to find our rhythm, and to, in a sense, develop a consistency with that. And then the second thing is, you know, life is about learning and observing. And so there are moments in my life where I'm not really, well, it's been less and less, but there were moments in previous times where I was not in such a creative flow as one would typically think. But even in those moments, I say that I'm just sponging, I'm just absorbing, I'm taking it all in. And at the right moment, when the inspiration hits or when there is a flow, all of those times where I was not necessarily in the vein of creativity, those experiences come pouring out as well. And so again, we talked about lulling and sponging. So there's some times where I'm just sponging. I'm just, yeah, I'm having a rough day too. I am taking it all in. Whoo, yes, exactly. And I'm just sponging. I'm living. But that's the thing. I am being mindful of living and knowing that it counts for something. Another thing, I guess, kind of as I'm speaking, I've been talking about friends and mentors. So another mentor, he mentioned something to me years ago, and it stuck. He says, you know what? I am making everything count. You know, even pain, even these, what could be negative experiences, I'm going to make it count for something. So I'm not just going to let life happen to me without being an active participant. And so I try to be mindful of that too, that this has to count for something. You know, what is, even in my times of failure or perceived failure, it's like, okay, Redic, get yourself up, look at it. What did you learn from this? What can you take away from this? And the fact that I can take something away from it, it's not a failure. I've learned something from it. You know, I've grown from that experience. And so those are kind of things that I ramble on, you know, so.
Now you hit on some really good things. The one thing that I thought was so interesting is when you were talking about water and how there's so many different states of water, but it's not for you to tell what state the water should be in. And then by the way that you describe your life and the things that when this happens, this is what happens, this is what I do, or this is how I approach it. It almost sounds like you've reached a level of alchemy in your life, a level of being an alchemist, where if something comes in, you don't tell it what it will be. But when it comes, you allow it to transmute to whatever it will become. And you don't judge the transformation. You don't judge the journey. You just allow it to take place in the way that it does. And I think that is extremely beautiful. It's like when you get negativity, don't just see it as negativity, but see it as, well, I was given some water. Let's see where this water goes. And then you transmute it into something beautiful, something different, something originally, and something that's you.
Yes, I think piggybacking on one of the words that I can only speak for myself, but I think that I'm also a reflection of each other. We are a reflection of humanity. And so one of the things that I think human beings can, as a default mechanism, is shy away from responsibility. You know, because when you take responsibility, it actually requires that you, in a sense, have an open mind to look at not just reality, but just to kind of squarely take stock of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Aaron, I really am endeavoring to be responsible with my life. Sometimes, you know, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but even if like I'm drunk, I'm like, I'm drunk, but I'm still aware. I can't blame it on the alcohol. No, I knew it. You know, I'm still aware. I'm still endeavoring to take responsibility. And I think when you are endeavoring to take responsibility for your life, when scenarios and people come into your life, knowing that it's an opportunity to learn. And of course, sometimes, you know, we just came off the course of this exhibition, and it was not just about actioning the art, it was actually actioning the vision and the entrepreneurial business side of this exhibition, because where we held it, so there was a whole nother layer to get to just to action the art and to put it out there. And so I was dealing with a lot of people who were not necessarily saying, we'll do the exhibition because of the value, but they saw also okay, we can drive traffic here. There was some other type of business requirements. And some of the interactions were not as pleasant, but I had to quickly take stock of how I was responding to this beautiful opportunity that was sometimes laced with challenges. And I began to say, oh, this type of scenario, this type of individual, this type of personality is actually here to teach me something. And with that state of mind, it was just like, okay, let me really try to respond and process appropriately so that I don't have to repeat similar lessons. And so, but that only came as a result of endeavoring to be responsible with my life. And then the alchemy comes when life brings you the right variables, the right friendships, the right scenarios, the right individuals. It's like, I don't know how our paths cross, but I know that I am on my path. So either we're gonna, you know what I'm saying? And you take it all in, and you keep growing from those experiences.
That's beautiful. Yes, 100%. So let me ask you the last question before we go. You hit on so many things. Normally, I like to ask, you know, what is the piece of advice that you'd like to give? But you've given
Broke up.
so many.
It
Hello?
broke up. You said it broke up just
So
a minute.
no problem. So what I was saying, normally I like to ask people, well, what's a piece of advice you'd like to give others? But you've given so many gems throughout this whole talk. Let me rephrase this question and ask in a different way. If you could speak to the younger version of you, the younger version of Redic, what advice would you give to him? What would you tell them?
I would say, oh, wow. Go easy on yourself.
Hmm.
Go easy on yourself. Go easy. Go easy. And as I'm speaking, one of my greatest mentors passed. I hadn't seen him in years, but he would say, this is Richard Johnson, Elder Richard Johnson. He would say, easy greasy, you got a long way to slide. And it's the fine art of being responsible and at the same time not taking yourself so seriously.
Mm.
And there is like where a sense of peace comes in. Yeah. Thanks for asking that question. I needed to be reminded of that, because sometimes my younger self is still trying to get word to my evolving self. Not my older self, my evolving self.
For sure. Brother, thank you so much. I love you, man. I love everything that you are, the things that you do, what you continue to strive to create, and what you are creating. You are definitely a force of inspiration in this world, and I am so grateful and so honored to call you my brother, to have you as a friend in my life. So I just wanted to acknowledge you and say thank you for all that you are and all that you are constantly, not just for me, but to the lives of so many people.
Aaron, it is reciprocated, and it's actually a great feeling, you know, because some family and some brothers and friends you don't have to see all the time, but just knowing that that love is there. Actually, when you left Shanghai, I was like, okay, I would laugh because my close friends, I would, you know, at some point they would all leave and go to different areas of life. And there's a lesson that I learned. I was going to sing, but I'll just end with this last little thought because I'm always breaking out into spontaneous song, but I'm not going to do that. The lesson that I learned when you left and when other individuals who are really close to me is that the eagles only have summits.
Hmm.
Um, there, you never see a flock of eagles. You will either see them flying solo or in pairs. But there are certain times of the year where they will convene on the top of a mountain. They will convene, they will gather, they will convene at the top of the mountain, and then they fly away. And I felt like the universe, God, or was saying to me, Redic, you are on your trajectory, but the close friends are actually of a similar cloth disposition, but they have their own path. And so tonight, being able to kind of reconnect with you after having not spoken since probably earlier this year, it's been a summit. It's been a convening of summits. And I think your platform, which is amazing, is actually inspiring and encouraging other eagles. It's a summit when you log on and when you share the messages that you do. So keep doing it because it's making a difference.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So before we go, where can people find you? How can people learn more about you, the things that you do, and the things that you are creating?
Well, the website is being reconstructed, but for now, just follow me here on Instagram. The artistry of Redic is the best way to really learn more. I am active here, updating things daily, if not weekly. And this year, 2020, will be another elevation of sharing, another elevation of giving. And so there'll be other platforms and mediums that you will be able to follow and discover. But just Instagram right here, the artistry of Redic,
Mhm.
is good.
Beautiful, brother. Once again, thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for your love, and just for being you. And
Yeah.
we'll do this again soon.
Okay. Aaron, I here's another thing. I'm still getting over apologetics. I really am. Sometimes I'm apologetic, but no, I have to honor. This is for everyone that tuned in and that will hear it later. Don't ever change the ways that you love, the ways that you look at and live your life. Always be true, authentically you. Always let light shine in all you do. 'Cause the world is full of darkness and disparity. Everyone is searching for hope. and clarity, and we don't need carbon copies of the same, but we need originals like you to sign their names. So be original and true, unapologetically you, inside and out. Don't walk in fear or doubt. Be original each day, woo, in each and every way. Originally true, originally you. I love you.
I love you too, brother. We'll chat soon.
All righty.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. Take care.